Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr., one of the most successful NBA players of all time, has also one of the most impressive histories of suffering injuries. Today we'll be looking at the player's entire timeline of injuries. But first, let's have a glance at the player's career so far. Spoiler, it's great, but spotty. So AD grew up playing basketball throughout his childhood in Chicago's South Side. The man is as loyal as they come because, unlike most good players, he played with his school, the rather unknown Prospective Charter School. His team was a losing one and maintained the record throughout the time they enrolled the player there. So here's some background to help you gain perspective. Most star players change schools to get noticed. Not Davis though. He played on a bad team for an entire 3 years. However, a bad team didn't hold our boy back as he averaged 7 blocks, 22 rebounds, and 32 points in his senior season. His outstanding stats eventually got big-time programs interested, like Ohio State, Syracuse, and Kentucky. AD ended up going with Kentucky, where he flourished and won the national title in his freshman year. Take notes, kids. His celebration didn't end there. From there onwards, he was showered with a whole lot of other major awards too. Even at a super young age, he got national recognition and took the Naismith Award for the nation's best player home. After accomplishing everything and more at 19, he went to the NBA and was selected by the then New Orleans Hornets. Fast forward 11 years, and the player is now one of the most celebrated NBA stars. Anthony Davis is now 29 years old and currently out with an injury, a pattern that some experts say has been recurrent in his career. How did it all begin? Let's dive in. So, way back in Anthony's first season, around 2012 to 2013, he played in 64 of 82 games and suffered a concussion. In his second game in the league, he missed a week of the season owing to his head injury. Not only that, but only after a few weeks of joining the league, he also injured his left ankle and missed 11 games. That meant he ended his rookie year playing a meager 64 games out of 82. We can't help but think if the man ran out of luck after joining the big games. Moving on, we have a sprained shoulder after Davis collided with Brook Lopez during a game. The sprain had him missing 2 games. The 2012-2013 campaign ended with him missing the last 3 games of his rookie year because of a sprained medial collateral ligament in his left leg. If you thought Davis had it bad that season, wait till you hear what's next. During the 2013-14 season, Davis played in 67 of 82 games. That's about 3 games more than his rookie year. The season began with the new kid on the block fracturing his left hand. Didn't we say there was more coming? The fracture happened in a game against the Knicks, which had him missing 7 games. The next bruise that Davis would get is something that even plagues him to this date, and is something that we unfortunately can relate to. Smash that like button if you can too. Yep, it's a back spasm. BRB as we lay down. His spasm had him out of games for the last 5 games of the season. The next season was a tad better for the player, but also not really. During his 3rd season, Davis played 68 games out of 82. We've gotta give props to the boys for consistently keeping his games in the 60s in the first 3 years. In January 2014, the Brow missed 3 games owing to a sprained toe. Yikes, that sounds hella painful even saying. The next affliction was a sprained shoulder that had him out for 5 games. Around March, he sat out on another couple of games because of a sprained ankle and suffered a painful AF bruised hip that had him out for some more games in the later season. Do you think the number of games he played would rise with the years? You got it wrong. In the 2015-2016 season, Davis had to dial it back and played 65 games out of 82. In a game against the Indiana Pacers, AD had to time out only 3 minutes in because of a back injury that had him out for 3 games. The next injury is a pretty painful one because it had the player sidelined for a friggin' 14 games. This sounds hella painful to say, but the man suffered a combo of injuries in his shoulder and knee. The duo injuries had him sitting out on the last 14 games of the season. The decision to sit Davis was an easy one because the Pelicans were nowhere close to playoff contention. Fortunately, things started looking up for him then. Well, at least for the next 2 seasons. From 2016 to 2018, AD played 75 games out of 82 in both seasons, a number significantly higher than his previous seasons, and the same one at that. We'll have whatever he was on at the time. He stayed on the court for most of the games. Both years were particularly great for him statistically too, which had him competing for league MVP. Around 2017, he suffered a strained groin. Things got really bad as he had to be wheelchaired off off the court. However, the injury only kept him a week out of the games. Okay, so who's out for our boy after 2 amazing seasons? The next few had him missing out on a ton of games. So from 2018 to 2021, the player's attendance record hasn't been the best. In 2018-2019, he played 56 out of 82 games and sprained his finger. The injury had him missing 9 games over 3 weeks. In 2019-2020, he showed some improvement and featured on the court in 62 games out of 72. This season was relatively better for Davis as he played with the Lakers, although he suffered a contusion. We assume that it was the months-long break that had the player recuperating.
Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Good thing about this play, it wasn't supposed to go like that. It was a broken play. Ball was supposed to go LeBron at the elbow, but I just saw my guy drop off, and me and Rondo kind of made eye contact, and I was able to just fly around, and he put the ball on the button, and I caught it and just shot, just let it go.
The short duration of the games could also have played a part in his top-notch health. The next season was a grueling one as Brow was only healthy for 36 games. He went down for a calf/Achilles injury the entire season, and the entire team had to be super careful around him and LeBron. Davis also suffered a groin injury later in the season. Did the new decade bring better health for Davis? We're not too sure about that. So by now, fans haven't been liking Davis too much because of his grimacing on the court every time he falls down. It's almost like a running joke. Last year, he only played 40 out of the Lakers' 82 regular season games. The first game was a no-show because of a fever, a pair of games because of a sore knee, and then later an MCL sprain, which had him out for 17 consecutive games. You see what we were talking about? The woes don't end here, by the way. We're talking about a wrist and right ankle injury and then a midfoot sprain too. This cost the team heavily as they missed the playoffs just 2 seasons removed.
So reassuring right there, but for the most part, I continue to do the same thing. Had a little bit more time, 2 extra months, because we didn't make the playoffs to really let my body rest and heal and then get after it. So normal summer for me.
As of now, we're only 13 games into the new season, and Anthony is already going through a foot injury and a tight lower back. The foot injury had him out for 20 games, but the man just returned to the court on January 25th. Well, the new season's off to a shaky start, but we hope that it gets better for him from here onwards.